I'm Sara Lufstyle, and this is Influence to Equity. I will be joined by guests from a wide range of industries who all have the commonality that there's no perfect linear line to success or life. Together, we're gonna figure out what works for you, for what defines success along your journey. From an unfulfilling 9-to-5 to becoming the leader of a brand synonymous with healthy, smart, and great bath time products, today's guest is more than just an entrepreneur. Tubby Todd is a household name found on best of lists worldwide and something that every mom and dad should have at ready. I am thrilled to welcome Andrea Faulkner-Williams. Andrea.
Hi, thank you so much for having me, Sara.
Thank you for joining me. I am so excited for this conversation because I know it's going to inspire moms. It's going to inspire hopefully fathers as well. Tell us, where did it begin? Where did you find the courage to say, I've got kids and I'm going to be crazy enough to go into entrepreneurialism?
So I was raised in a crazy entrepreneurial home. My mom and dad started a few businesses together. My mom was home with us 5 kids, and my dad started selling planners, and then eventually he worked into selling marketing materials for financial planners. Okay. And I watched him and my mom really kind of balance this home work duty and make the life that they wanted and that they really envisioned that was maybe different than my friends' dads who, you know, decided to be dentists or doctors or lawyers, which are also amazing things. Right. And I saw how they really leaned on each other, and my dad really leaned on the strengths of my mom. On my first date with my husband, he's like, I think it'd be really cool to work with my wife. And I was like, you're my guy. You're my guy. Everything else we can work out.
Do we find those on Amazon? Like, where do we find those partners?
I don't know. I'm on Amazon, maybe. I don't know. 2-day shipping. We decided, you know, we got married, and then we kept trying these businesses, but we would only be half in, right? And we had a few different services we offered. And at that point, we had one little one, and my husband came home from another frustrating day at his day job. And he was like, you know what? We're gonna start a natural bath company, and we're gonna make it for our kids, and we're gonna call it Tubby Todd. And the mascot's gonna be a moose. And I was like, yeah, we are. And when I tell this story, people are like, have you heard of Johnson & Johnson, Honest? And I was like, you know what? He was so excited, and we had been so excited about this idea of really jumping feet first and trying something together. And we were so frustrated at that point by failures of running into walls with not just jobs, but other businesses that we had started. I think we really had gotten to the point of commitment where we could really just put our head down and ignore all of the noise around us. So how we arrived at that moment was because he was working in manufacturing and he had met these great formulators, and I was working in marketing. And so we had seen this path from our family, but then we also had seen through our day jobs where we'd worked really hard, we had gained these skills where we were able to apply them to then our own journey in our own business. So we started working on a formula, and we loved it. We were super excited about it, about to bring it to market. In the meantime, our second baby is born, and his skin is itchy and dry, like so many newborns. Yep. I don't know if you've experienced this in your home.
Eczema. Yep.
Yeah, and so we didn't even know what it was. It was eczema, but at the time we had no idea what to do. And we're like, well, we can't release this product that doesn't work for both of our children. So we started again, took another year on formulation, worked with some of the best formulators in the industry, and found a super hydrating wash that when we used it, it completely soothed this little one's skin. So we ordered 750 bottles to our house. That's all the cash we had left. And we started sending them to every friend we knew who had any sort of social influence online or in their community. And we're like, hey, try this product, let us know what you think. We knew we couldn't pay them to talk about it. Right. So, and we didn't know if people would talk about a bath soap. At the time, influencers really only spoke about like fashion and things that you could see in their photos. Right. And the bath is such an intimate moment that we're like, we don't really know if this could be an online product. This probably has to be an in-the-store product, but we can't go wholesale now. We can't submit a PO big enough for wholesale. Right. So we just started sending out, and after sending out a few hundred bottles of these products to friends and friends of friends, we found out that people started talking about their experience online. And they were moms telling other moms like, hey, this changed my life. This bath wash soothed my little one's skin. It's not even a cream. What is this company? It's Tubby Todd. All these orders, I mean, a few a day, and then 10 a day, and then 20 a day started to come in through our website. And I was shipping them out at home. My husband had a day job. We had the 2 little ones. And we were like, oh, this might be working. And that's how it all got started.
I want to go back to two things in particular. You came up with the formula. You're like, we've got it.
Yeah.
Then you have a second child that has eczema, and you waited another year. That's wild to me. And I think that's so important for listeners to hear. How do you know when to wait? By the time this podcast comes out, my brand LSC will be out. And I know, like with my business partner, we wanted to launch this 6 months ago. And then we thought, okay, 3 months ago. And then we thought a month ago. But the timing just felt off. And then we needed to keep pushing. And turns out it was the best thing we could have ever done.
Yeah.
How do you know when to sit still?
You can't sell or make anything that you yourself wouldn't want to consume or buy. Right. The consumer is too smart, is too sharp, has too many resources at their disposal. They can't be tricked anymore, right? I think that when you are really clear and honest with yourself that you're creating something that you really believe you would either want to consume or purchase, that gives you the right understanding of what the timeline is going to be. So that's the first thing I would say. The second thing I was going to say is always start with like, what is the purpose? You know, why are you putting this in the world? And being true to that statement. So if you're being true to that statement, that's something that my dad, my sister, other members of our family who have worked in their own businesses, always, whenever I go to them with a question about my business, they push back on me. And they're like, okay, well, why are you putting this in the world? What's your why? Why are you doing this, right? And if you can go back to that and defend it and feel like you could clearly bring that to a customer or to your business partner and defend that, then you will know the timeline.
The other thing that I want to make sure that I mention is it's the all-in factor. I think a lot of times we get frustrated when something doesn't work. When the reality is we haven't actually given everything we've got to it. Where do they find that courage? Because it's scary.
Yeah, it is. And even when you are to a place of success, it's even scarier, I think.
Correct.
Because now I'm like, I look at the families who work for us and I'm like, holy crap, I can't mess this up because there's so much riding on this, right? And that pressure, that functioning from a place of fear is not a place where anything successful comes out of, right? So yeah, you can't go from there, but you do have those moments.
You know, one of the things that I love about, besides just the product, which I use on my kiddos, because my kid does have eczema. I remember when I met Ed 3 years ago, and he's the founder of Moon Ultralight. He'd gone into this meeting and he's like devastated. And he went to talk to a VC, went to talk to private equity, and they were like, your model's dumb. You are trying to use influencers. Influencer marketing is dead. It does not work. This is 3-4 years ago. But we both know that that's not the case, and it's still growing. It's know, I think it's about to be a $35 billion industry. How did you find your audience, like both personally and with Tubby Todd?
I remember one day we were like deep into the reformulation process for the umpteenth time. And my husband, was hating his day job, gone 12, 13 hours a day. I had 2 kids and we were so poor and I was so depressed. And I called my dad and I was just like, it feels like we're never going to get anywhere. I was just bawling. And he was like, hey, you just got to think of one thing you're going to get done today, right? So when you hit a roadblock in your business, right, and it just seems so overwhelming, or maybe you're deep into your business and you found success and you're thinking, well, what am I going to do next to either continue the success or level up? You don't need to do 20 things that day. You just need to think every day, what is one thing I'm going to do? And I apply that so many days at work when I sit down and I have a billion emails and a billion different strategies we could go down as a company. But I think, okay, today I'm really going to make sure that I email back this podcast that I was excited about being on and solidify, how am I going to get on there? Who am I going to call? How am I going to make that happen today? That's the one thing I'm going to do today. And maybe tomorrow, I'm going to make a list of manufacturers that I can call. Maybe I'm not going to call them all, but I'm going to make a spreadsheet of 10 manufacturers. And then the next day, I'm going to call in all 10 of those. I have my list that I made, right? So one very clear, actionable item every single day as an entrepreneur will get you so far. It will blow your mind.
I'm actually glad you mentioned it, and this is not really where I intended for this conversation to go, but we're here, so we're doing it.
We're here. We're present, yeah.
I am a list person. And so part of my struggle, if I can be honest, as a mom and as an entrepreneur, is feeling like I have to fulfill everything on my list. And I was getting burnt out. Like every 3 to 6 months, I was getting burnt out because I thought I needed to be everything to everyone. But I did want to ask you, especially as someone, the podcast is called Influence to Equity. You guys did that well with 750 bottles. You sent it out to your friends and family and people with influence. How did you find it for Tubby Todd, but then also for yourself?
Our brand, and I will be 100%, honest here, was built on influencer marketing. And so influence to equity could not be more real for anyone in the literal sense than for Tubby Todd. That model, which we were afraid of at first, because influencer marketing wasn't really a thing. There were mommy bloggers 10 years ago. How we found that model was, I was really lucky to be exactly our target demographic. And I said to every person who worked for us, whether they were 50 or a male or, a stay-at-home mom, listen, do not write anything that you would not say to a stay-at-home mom that you love, right? And that is who we are marketing to. A mom who is probably on maternity leave, has just had her first baby, and she is trying to breastfeed, trying to bottle feed. She's trying to do all the things and figuring it out. She's healing from a C-section or a vaginal birth. She is in pain. And do not write some dorky, cutesy caption that is going to make her feel patronized or spoken down to or like a dork, because she's not. She's still a sexy, beautiful, fun, brilliant woman. She just happens to be caring for a newborn now, right? And I reiterate this in our content, in our marketing, in our ad meetings, in our design meetings. Like, I don't care if you think that that's cool. That isn't cool. You wouldn't sell that. You wouldn't buy that for yourself. So why are you trying to sell this to a mom, right? Like, that means that you think we are less than you, right? And just constantly reminding ourselves that of a brand is the best way we've been able to relate to our customer. For me, it was easy because I was in that space. So if you're not in the space of your consumer, get in their head. Be where they are, talk to them. Still, I call my friends or text my friends who have just had babies who are pregnant. I'm like, tell me where you are right now. What are you listening to? How are you feeling? What brands do you love? What moms on Instagram are speaking to you? What dads are speaking to you? What is your partner worried about? What are they excited about, right? Yeah. I've got to put that out there all the time and get where my consumer is and be with them throughout the entire sales journey.
That's so powerful, because I think sometimes entrepreneurs, and we see it a lot with Instagram, folks will start businesses for the sake of a hustle. But we talked about the why, we talked about the purpose, but also like, are you your consumer? And if you're not your consumer, then get into the effing mind of your consumer.
Get there.
And how do you solve a problem that they have? Because then you're not really selling, you're solving a problem.
Our mission at Tubby Todd is to connect families, and we connect families through good, clean, fun body care basics.
Let me ask you this, with that in mind, with a lot of industry is obsessed with growth in the beauty space, in the influencer space. You seem to have taken your time and expanded where it made sense. Do you feel the pressure to grow and grow faster? So
we started, Brian and I, just bootstrapping the entire thing. So we funded everything. And for 3 years, we grew until we felt like, okay, we're ready to do a little bit of fundraising. And we did a friends and family round. And that is when my dad, Brian, was able to quit his job at that point, 3 years into it, came on as CEO, and I was the president, but I just call myself head mama. My dad came on the board, and we had a few other board members that entered at that point. They all were about profitable growth. So we all had the same idea of what success meant. And I think that that's something to be very clear with entrepreneurs. A lot of times we think the success is getting money from someone or talking to VCs. If they don't have the same ideals as you and the same growth mindset as you, then you are really just putting yourself at risk, not in an opportunity for success, right? So I think it is really important as an entrepreneur, as the owner, to figure out, what does success look like to you?
It's a great point. I don't know if I've ever shared this story. I remember, this is probably 2 years ago, I had just 3 years ago, rebranded to Sara Lifestyle. And I had a mentor at the time, and I remember telling him like my goals, and like he's like, okay, what do you want to do? Here's our 3 pillars. Where are we going? And I said this, this, and this. And he said, Sara, be realistic. And I remember like, okay, you're fired, first of all.
Yeah.
And second of all, he was like, well, why don't you do this? Because you'll grow faster as an influencer. And I remember saying I would rather go slower. Had I done it the traditional route, I probably would have 500,000, 1 million followers by now, and I would have done something else. But I know for me, one, it didn't feel authentic, it didn't feel right. And I did not believe that that was going to be the most profitable for whatever my business was going to turn into in the future. Yeah. I appreciate the fact that you said the slow growth was the best thing you did for yourself and for your family.
Yeah. And it was smart growth, right? Yeah. It's smart. It's looking at your books and being honest with what you're doing and being honest with your consumer with what you're doing, right? You know, making sure we were really honest with the claims we were making about our products. And that can be really, really hard, especially when, you know, I'll give you an example. Our all over ointment is our best selling product. It's like a love child between a salve and an ointment. So it sits on top of the skin, it blocks out irritants, but it also seals in moisture. So you put it on top of our lotion or our body butter. We had all of these women and families writing in saying, this has solved eczema for my family. This was the solution. We had dermatologists, pediatricians from around the world being like, oh my gosh, like recommending this for their kids. But it hadn't been approved by the FDA because we hadn't submitted for FDA approval. And so we had to do a slight reformulation to submit for FDA approval. And I'm literally adding 0.01% of an ingredient that is FDA approved. It's a whole technical thing. And we had to be really, really careful. It would have been faster growth in order to keep those eczema claims on there and all of those reviews. But we had the big picture in mind. And it was hard, especially as an entrepreneur. I was the one who was like, I don't even care. Let's just put it out there. But I had people in my corner that wanted to keep me safe. They wanted to keep me safe on the internet.
I love that.
They wanted to keep me safe financially. My husband has been a big proponent of keeping me safe. He's my business partner, and at work sometimes I'll be like, okay, I'm gonna put this poster out, I'm gonna put this, and he's like, no, we've already agreed. That's not something that will keep our family safe, keep you safe, that will keep our business safe. So you have to decide what are those things that are gonna keep your brand safe, and you gotta protect them. And so it did slow us in how much of that ointment we could sell, which is hard for me because I'm like, no, this really does take care of eczema. But you know what, just last month, after 3 years of working on the FDA approval, we have it all packaged, reformulated, and we can now say clearly, and I say to you directly, that it will help soothe and heal your little one's eczema.
I could talk to you forever, but I do want to play a game.
Yeah, oh, a game.
A game, mom to mom. You ready? It's called Tough Decisions. What would you rather have? 30 minutes of silence, or you get to sit down and eat lunch while it's hot the first time?
Eat lunch while it's hot the first time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know what that's like. Next one, terrible twos or god awful threes?
The threes are the worst. Twos every time.
Date night or a day at Disney?
Date night. Yeah. 100%.
With or without them?
No, they don't go on date night.
Yeah,
no,
thank you.
Absolutely.
A warm cup of coffee before you open your eyes or more than 5 hours of sleep?
Always more than 5 hours of sleep. I'm really good at sleeping. And I have so many mom tips about how good at sleeping I am.
All right, last one. 5th baby or 6th baby? Sorry, Brian.
Oh my gosh, 6th baby, is that even an option? If you knew how bad I was, I hadn't even thought about that. If you knew how bad I was at being pregnant, you would be like, why are we even talking about this right now? It's so hard. Okay, to all of the pregnant moms out there, let's just give them a slow clap. I mean,
can I be honest? I did not enjoy being pregnant.
Oh, it's literally hell from the first moment. We'll say 5th baby because I don't even know how I would do a 5th pregnancy, but maybe a surrogate. We'll talk about that later.
Before we end, I do want to touch on the mom topic.
Yes.
But what I don't want to do is create this fantasy of like, we make it look so easy on social media. 99.9% of the time, I do not look like this. I'm sometimes just trying to get by. And I feel like if I got one thing done, like we talked about earlier, for each of them and for my business, then okay, I was successful.
Yeah.
What does that look like for you when you're like, this ish sucks and I'm effing over it?
On really hard days, after they've gone to sleep, I go into that individual's room. So whatever baby it is, and I sit by them and I either pray or just touch them and bless them. And I ask for whatever specific thing I need for that person. And then I think about someone in our family. I really believe in angels. I think about someone in our family who's gone before us, whether it's my grandma or my grandpa. My dad's dad was really kind of ornery and grumpy, and he loved to play board games. And I have a 6-year-old who is an 85-year-old man. He wakes up, one hand down his pants in the morning, like, let's play Yahtzee. I'm like, how old are you? What is happening? Never wants to wear underwear anymore. Like, it's the weirdest thing, right? Yeah. And he's darling. Like, he's so sweet and has, like, he'll melt your heart, but he is challenging. And so I always pray to my grandpa, who also loved to play board games and was a little grumpy about him. And I'm like, hey, grandpa, like, this one's on you.
To our listeners, thank you so much for listening. I want to make sure that I share these takeaways. 1, patience. It is one of the hardest parts of entrepreneurship. Learning when to sit still is critical as you move forward. The second thing I want to share is, what is your why? Why are you doing this? Defend it and start with it. And the third thing that I want to share is, what's one thing that you're going to do today? You don't have to do everything. Complete one task and that's it. I want to thank Andrea. Thank you for coming on Influence to Equity.
Thank you so much for having me. So if you are a listener here on Influence to Equity, please go to tubbytodd.com. You can use the code Influence to Equity for 15% off our products now through May 14th, which is Mother's Day. No coincidence there.
Andrea, thank you so much.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.